Hello. So today we're going to discuss about the MegaCellMonitor and MegaCellCharger, and actually going from A to Z just once more. And there are some changes in the first videos that we made in season 1 up until today. Previous version didn't have over-the-air upgrades and all kinds of other features that are now available. So I thought it would be time for a new unboxing video. And as you can see, we've got a whole new stack of version 2 production run. They are all tested and good. So they come in a box with an instruction manual on how to actually connect them. And when you unpack it, you have the actual MegaCellCharger and 2 power leads that are needed to get things installed. Now, I already have a power supply ready at hand, and I've prepared a power cord, at the end a receptacle that is suitable for the power supply. They're basically screw terminals. So what I've done is I crimped a ring terminal at the end, cut off the top piece so it's a half moon shaped form, which is now very easy to install on the chargers. So the first thing that I will do is get the power leads connected, and then we go and continue with the installation of the power leads to the MegaCellCharger. Now the power feed itself has all the necessary labeling. It's just an off-the-shelf industrial charger. Sorry, I need to say it right. Industrial power supply. So it has an L and an N. One is for the mains and one is for the negative. The other one is for the ground. So eventually you connect 3 leads for the mains voltage to go in. At least within the European area. Now check also the side and make sure that it is set to 220 volts. You don't want to have this one connected to 110 mains with 220 or vice versa. That can damage your power supply for sure. So mains is connected. So next step is the actual connection of the terminals to the charger. And there are 2 screw terminals which you need to loosen. And then once they are loosened up, make sure you use the correct colors for the positive and the negative, so you know where they need to go on your power supply. Now tighten everything down. And once it's tightened, cross-check that it is nice and snug. Now connect the leads to your power supply. And you are basically good to go. Now there is a small adjustment screw on the side, which you can configure your voltage to go a little bit up or down. We'll discuss that later, because if you have a low voltage on your terminals, 5 volts or below, the system can start what we call ghosting, meaning it detects cells in the base which are actually not there. So you need to make sure that your power supply has sufficient capacity and it's tuned to 5 to 5.5 volts. So 5 volts in rest, 5 under load. But we'll get to that in the later part. Let me hook this one up to the mains, and then we'll make a video on what you see on the display and how to proceed from there. Okay, so at this point it's connected to the mains voltage and the system is now powering up. You see a few lights on the ports blinking. That's due to the factory default image. It contains a few test scripts and some other stuff, but it is not fit for purpose for actually charging. But it gets you up through the initialization phase of the MegaCellCharger. And what you see in the display, it goes through a setup of your Wi-Fi. As there is nothing configured, it can't find your Wi-Fi. And it starts first the WPA connectivity. So if you have a WPA router that's capable or it has that button on your WPA router, make sure that you press that button when you see the WPA message in your display. Now you have 15 seconds to actually push the button, and if the 15 seconds are timed out, then basically it goes into a config portal mode. Now the config portal mode is your charger changing into an access point, and when it's in the access point mode, you can connect with your phone to it and configure the Wi-Fi settings. As you can see here, it says start config portal and it shows you the SSID it broadcasts, and it has a password 123 all the way to 0, which you need to key in to your phone. Okay, so let's switch over to the phone and show you how to enroll the charger. Alright, so on your cell phone, then navigate to your Wi-Fi settings and you'll see the hotspot showing up. A cell doctor with the MAC address, and once you typed in 1 till 0 and connect to it, it basically gets the IP address from the MegaCellCharger. Now sometimes it happens that you're too fast, then basically it keeps circling, waiting for an IP address from the charger, but actually the charger config portal was not completely initialized yet, and you're getting a wrong IP address or no IP address basically at all. Now if you scroll down and you see something like 169, which is an PIPA address, then you know for sure that the charger did not issue you a correct IP. Disable your Wi-Fi, re-enable it, and then it auto joins back to your cell doctor. And now you see the tick mark, and automatically the config portal is now showing up. So you select your Wi-Fi and you type in your password for the Wi-Fi, and then you select next to configure your charger with the appropriate Wi-Fi settings. And at this point, the charger will receive an IP address from your Wi-Fi router, and that's the point where we can continue with the configuration in the MegaCellMonitor software. Okay, on the display of your MegaCellCharger, you'll see now the message is connected, and mine is received an IP address 192.168.0.85. And it's connected to the Connect and Exchange Wi-Fi, which is very good. Now at this point, the charger is going through its initialization phase, and eventually it will do a restart, and you'll see that the cell is being shown all empty. I've got no cell, so it says C1, which is empty. So at this point we can move over to the application. You already installed it. Now when you go to the settings page and you hit scan, it automatically detects the IP subnet that you're in, and I'm currently in a 512 hosts large subnet, so scanning takes a little bit of time to scan all the 512 IP addresses for a potential MegaCellCharger. And as you can see, it already detected the 192.168.0.85 as a charger with firmware 3.2.4. And now you click add chargers, and at this point it starts the communication with your charger. It detects also the firmware and validates if that firmware is compatible with your MegaCellMonitor software release. And if it detects that it is not, it shows you in the status page, and it says, look, I'm going to update your charger to, in this case, 4.1.1, which is at this point the release I'm working with. Now I'm running a beta version, so you might have 4.1.0 or 4.0.0 firmware, which is absolutely fine. But at this point, the software is installed, and you need to make sure that you reset your charger to the factory defaults. Now the new firmware also comes with a new data structure which is not compatible with version 3. So you need to go over to your charger once the entire initialization process is done and perform a factory reset. If not, the system will not function properly. So at this point we're pressing the mode button and we're waiting all the way up till the display shows the factory reset element. So it says show IP and then here factory reset. You release it and then it basically goes through a reset process where it deletes the old configuration files, all your Wi-Fi settings, and it restarts the system. Now when the system is restarted, it also starts the auto configuration of the Wi-Fi. So you need to go through that process once more where you are using your phone with the config portal to get access to make sure that the charger has access to your Wi-Fi access point. And once done, then we move over back to the application. Now we're back in the application and you can set your charging parameters and make sure that you hit apply when you do so. Also check the circuit breakers, hit apply. Even if you don't make any changes, then you ensure that everything is saved and stored correctly to the chargers and in the application. So the next step is we select all the cells that are inserted and you can basically hit the workflow button and then show what is going on in the system. Now the workflow gets kicked off and I'm opening here also the advanced tab which shows the exact stage of each cell, and that gives you a good overview on what your charger is currently doing. Of course you can hover over the cells in the virtual charger. That shows also the current state, but yeah, I always enjoy having the grid, though it's quite heavy on CPU load. So if you have like multiple chargers, like 5 or 6 or more, you might want to consider not having this one, but go to the corporate view that's also in there. Now I'm cleaning up the view a little bit by right-clicking on the taskbar, removing the fields that I don't use that frequently. And then I have a nice overview of the entire charge process. So as you can see here, we sped up the video. The charge process is charging the cells, and then eventually it rests the cell, it discharges, and then once it's discharged, it rests it once more and then performs a store charge all the way up to the point that the workflow is completed. And really depending on your settings, at the end of the workflow, the labels are going to be printed and you are good to go and add those labels onto your cells. So after the cells are finished, you can basically remove the cells from the charger and place some new cells into it. It will auto-generate a new serial number and start adding them into the serial database. Now, once you're in the database, you can open it up and show the graphs, etc., and review what the charge cycle has been doing. So at this point, we're basically done with the instructive video on how to set up your MegaCellCharger from the moment that you unboxed it up to the point that you finished a workflow. And I see a lot of comments in Facebook and on the chat saying, look, my workflow is not working. I suspect that you guys haven't done a proper factory reset. And if you did, then yeah, feel free to submit the logs, and then we can have a look at it. But before you do that, make sure to push that mode button. Keep it all the way pressed until you see factory reset. Once you've done the factory reset, go back into the app, change your charger parameters, apply the charger parameters to your charger, and go to the circuit breaker and make sure that you hit apply there as well. So all those parameters are sent to your charger before you do a workflow. I think that will resolve most of your issues, not all, even I suspect all, because we have never had any issues with the beta testers at all. So if you have any issues with hardware, address them to Alex Gradea. I'm doing the software side, not the hardware side, so please don't post it on the MegaCellMonitor, MegaCellCharger Facebook page. Go to Alex Gradea and he'll sort it out with you for sure. All right, stay safe and keep charging. So after the cells are finished, you can basically remove the cells from the charger and place some new cells into it. It will auto-generate a new serial number and start adding them into the serial database. Now, once you're in the database, you can open it up and show the graphs, etc., and review what the charge cycle has been doing. So at this point, we're basically done with the instructive video on how to set up your MegaCellCharger from the moment that you unboxed it up to the point that you finished a workflow. And I see a lot of comments in Facebook and on the chat saying, look, my workflow is not working. I suspect that you guys haven't done a proper factory reset. And if you did, then yeah, feel free to submit the logs, then we can have a look at it. But before you do that, make sure to push that mode button. Keep it all the way pressed until you see factory reset. Once you've done the factory reset, go back into the app, change your charger parameters, apply the charger parameters to your charger, and go to the circuit breaker and make sure that you hit apply there as well. So all those parameters are sent to your charger before you do a workflow. I think that will resolve most of your issues, not all, even I suspect all, because we have never had any issues with the beta testers at all. So when you have questions for hardware related issues, address them to so if you have any issues with hardware, address them to Alex Gradea. I'm doing the software side, not the hardware side, so please don't post it on the MegaCellMonitor, MegaCellCharger Facebook page. Go to Alex Gradea and he'll sort it out with you for sure. All right, stay safe and keep charging.